No worries. Here we are.
Oh,
How
no,
are
dude.
you? You
Oh,
get to go first because you got stuff going.
yes. First and foremost, good afternoon to everybody who will be coming on board here. We truly appreciate you on this 13th episode of season number 2. Wow. So
Lucky
we we
13.
we are moving on. How am I doing? I am moving my hand off the wheel. And truly just going with God's timing now. I am moving my hand off the wheel. I am not going to attempt to drive this car because I found out that as I put my hand on the wheel, I don't know how to drive this car. I don't, especially when the course has been kind of set for me and I know where the end result is. I'm attempting to go on different side roads where Waze or Google Maps already shown me this is the way to go. And I'm like, nah, I need to veer off, and I'm veering off based on my understanding of I can get there quickly taking this route, right? And I'm finding out that it's within me. The route has already been downloaded. I have to allow the process to occur. I have to allow the growth to occur. I have to allow the slough of this pond to get me, but then let me learn from it and keep on going in order that when I do get to this destination, all of these things that have occurred that I've learned on this path, on this journey, they were there to train me so that when I am on stage, when those things occur, I know how to swat them with the fly swat, because it's a fly and not an elephant. Had I not learned on my path during my so-called depression and my oppression and my compression, that what I had to learn, and I veered off to not engage with it or think that I'm dodging it here, but it's going to come back in the future. But it needs to be taken care of now, because when I am on stage and it occurs as an elephant, it will stop me from performing and stop me from giving the people who came to hear what they were supposed to hear in that season. I have to turn to the elephant, deal with the elephant in the room, and come back. And when I turn around, those people may be gone.
Okay. Can I do something for a second? Can I ask some questions? Because I'm like, I feel like we're at a poetry slam. I mean, it's just me. I don't know if anybody else out there is like, what is he talking about?
I know,
Right?
and it's intentional, right?
So but it's great. Like, if you've ever been to a poetry slam, everybody's interpretation of what's going through their experience, right? So it's fantastic. I just want to bring us all on the same page here, if it's possible. So can you speak in more specifics?
Sure. Now.
Okay. First of all, let's break this down, because there's like 15 things going on. Specifically, so I have a question, and this is a question I've been asked before too, and I think it's a good one, is when you said the destination has been already pre-downloaded, right? That could be interpreted as fate, right? It's already determined. Where is free will, right? So in this concept of it's already been decided, where do you feel, and if you do feel at all, that you have choice in that predestined determined, defined journey path, right?
Sure.
So I'm going to start with that question. I've got 15 others.
Hey, I'm ready for them. I think, so here's how I know the destination is. I've seen the vision.
Got it.
I have the vision. The vision has been given to me.
There we go.
I know, I have experienced it. I have lived it. I'm between receiving a vision and experiencing the vision. So I'm on a journey. So that's how I know that thing has been downloaded. It's in me. I have to be patient.
Mhm. Do you know how you're going to get to that vision? If you call the vision like creating a particular thing, right? Or in a, but do you know exactly how that's supposed to go?
I can paint the picture for you. I'm doing things that I know I'm supposed to be doing in this season. Is it going to occur right around the corner? Is it going to occur way down the road? My anxiety wants to have me wear my tomorrow's clothes today.
Your anxiety wants you to know the how.
So to answer that question, I know there are supposed to be numerous books out there. I've written 4, haven't published. So I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I know I'm supposed to build churches, hospitals, schools, widow centers, community centers, infrastructure, growth programs, help people regardless of their age, creed, religion, because God loves people and it's about people. I know I have it within me. I know I'm supposed to speak to millions. I know. But guess what? Eavesdrop is part of that. So when you ask me how, Eavesdrop is part of that. What we're doing now, it's part of it. But you see, when you're so close to it, it is so hard to see it. So you have to step back, remove the tears from in your eyes and go, let me see the path I've been on. Let me see how this has occurred. Let me see. So how we're working it.
So can I share something with you
Yeah,
in my observations of visionaries in the time that I've worked with them?
Go ahead.
Visionaries are not how people. We're what and we're why, but we are not how. Sarah Madras, who is a dear friend of both of ours, one of the reasons we met, in addition to Jenny Midgley, because I cannot not mention Jenny. I think Jenny was the direct invitation.
Correct.
But Sarah put a great post on LinkedIn today. And it was all about realizing that we need others to get us where we're going. It was all about collaboration and the teams that, are there to help us. And so visionaries being what and why people, we are not great executors. And you know why we're not great executors? Because we're not meant to be, right? If we had the vision and the execution, we wouldn't need anyone else.
Correct.
And we did not come here to work solely by ourselves. And so we were kind of not given that gene so that we would learn to get along with others. Visionaries typically tend to struggle, at least early in life, sometimes all of their lives, with getting along with others. And a big part of that is that we keep trying to, jam that how into our expectations of self, right? So you have the vision, you feel, when I hear you, you embody that, right? You aren't, it's not that you just have a vision, you are the vision, right? You yourself, you can feel it, you can smell it, you can taste it, you are it. And when we are something, there is, by definition, we can't get a perspective because it's like the white on rice analogy, right? White rice doesn't know it's white because it's like it can't get perspective.
Correct.
So it rely on others, right? We rely on others to mirror back to us what they see or what they interpret and what we're saying about the vision, and then to help with the execution and the management, in all aspects, and the development and the further creation of, right? So we may start. So the whole point is we're not meant to know how. And so when you were saying earlier, I feel like I have to take my hands off the wheel, right? I have to let go of the how. And he will say, I mean, really, truly, that's a human thing. We all are learning, I think, and hopefully in our own way, but visionaries especially. And what the challenge is we can see it, smell it, taste it, but we need others to help us get it, get to it, become it, deliver it, cultivate it, harvest it, utilize it effectively. And I will use that word, need others to do that. And that's a good thing, right? It's a good thing. We don't need in the sense of, to live, but if we look at it as more of a role thing, and everybody has a role to get, the bread made and delivered to the table for dinner, we all need to be doing certain things in that process for that bread to be delivered on the table. That's what I mean by need. And that is a beautiful thing, because we are supposed to collectively feel fulfilled in that end game, and not just say, I made that bread. He made that bread. I did this piece that I feel really good about.
Correct.
Right? I had the vision of the bread. I knew that there was this thing called bread that we could make. And then I started talking to someone, they're like, oh, I know chemistry. And I know if we put flour with sugar and water and, and eggs, I don't know how to make bread. Is it clear? That we can start to formulate that vision that you have. Yeah, I know what you're saying is possible. Right. And so, and then there's the people who are the doers, because, we may chemically know that there are certain things we can put together, but then maybe we don't know how to measure those things properly. So it takes somebody else who is a structural engineer to do that part of the bread making. But the whole point being, we all come with these innate skill sets, and as visionaries, where we tend to get frustrated is in always feeling like we have to establish the how, or we have to hold ourselves accountable to the how, and that is not our job. Right? So we are best served by letting go of those things. And that is usually the hardest, because when you have that vision and you see it so clearly, you're like, but I know how to get there. I know. Do you?
Boo.
Boo. Do you? I like that. That's a new swag. I've been doing hashtag swag quotes lately. And I said to somebody earlier, I said, because I have all these amazing connections, many of them coaches, consultants, these incredible minds that come out with this incredible stuff. And I'm like, I'm going to start a separate business and do hashtag swag quotes. Like buy these, like we got to put that on swag, because people need to be wearing this stuff or putting it on the bumper sticker
and giving them a percentage of it.
Oh, of course. I mean, this is a collaborative effort. I just got the vision.
But here's the deal, though. We're talking. I know we're laughing, but I'm not going to say there's an elephant in the room, but that you had 14 other questions. But it's a matter of trusting, huh?
Yeah.
It's a huge thing of trusting and letting go of your baby who has to leave and share with a whole lot of other people, because visionaries cast the vision for others to catch and run with it, right? Okay.
Trust. That's an interesting word.
It's trusting that what we have in us. But let me put a not a monkey wrench in this, but let me add another piece. Shucks, I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask it. I don't know the answer. So I get this vision November. I know this vision exists of going out and building churches, hospitals, schools, etc. in these places, speaking and encouraging people, building people up, extracting greatness, etc. I know it comes on. I know it before, I feel it, and then it's vivid on November 16, 2011, 2 a.m. in the morning when I'm waking up and I have to write it down because something taps me on my tie. I look to my wife, she's sleeping, and I go, she's not. I try to go back to bed. No, write. And I know it's the Holy Spirit for me. It's the Holy Spirit saying, wake up and write. I wake up and I write. 2 hours later, I write a whole lot. But let me put this piece in there. The piece that says, you know what, I haven't shared this with a lot of people. I've shared it with people, but I think I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it because it's big, it's huge. God tells me, Wulwyn, I'm going to give $4 trillion so that you can do this work on the globe. You will ask nobody for money. The how. Write books. I'm writing the books. Just today, can you imagine? In there was web, W-E-B. And then it clicked to me. I said, eavesdrop, elite mindset. This is where we're taking over the web in our space. Not taking it over the whole web, but our space where we. But what conflicts me is how is the 4 trillion going to come? I know you said you will give it. I know, I trust you, God.
Faith, trust. So I'm hearing faith and trust. And it's so interesting.
Yes.
And so interesting because those two words, I could actually, whether they're on listening now, I could bring the answers to my last post from LinkedIn into this dialogue. Some people said some amazing things. Amazing things because I wrote my June blog was having faith in what we've planted. All right, that was the name, faith in what we've planted. And I used the analogy of a farmer, right, in that. But the post itself was kind of throwing out there this question of, typically we have come to the ideas of faith as one that typically is presented to us in religion terms, right? In terms of religion. But this is what I said. It says, what do faith and trust mean to you? So many of us have heard and learned about faith through the lens of religion, yet it extends to so much more. We also have been taught to think that trust is earned. What really it is a choice. You either choose to trust or you choose not to. The criteria may be different from person to person, but in the end, it is our decision, and I need my glasses, but I don't have them close by. It is our decision and not reliant upon whether the other is actually trustworthy or not. I love thinking about these things in terms of leadership. And I'd like to know, do you have faith and trust in what you've planted? And I mean, some of the people, they're talking about, kind of where they put the different responses or the different meanings. You have to trust in yourself and what you're being called, like Holy Spirit speaking to you, trust that is actually what is coming through and it is true for you.
Yeah.
right? Trust in that is part of your mission. That is part of your purpose. That is part of your reason for being.
Correct.
And have faith in others, in the systems, in the availability, in the right. And that's the letting go piece. That's the allowing piece, right? Because we forget, we come into this world and we think we're human doers, that we are 100% responsible for everything that is created.
Mm.
And that's hubristic, right? There are other things at work. And that is where, as humans, we've created a lot of not so great stuff in the world.
Correct.
With that mindset. Oh, we can engineer the human body. We can figure out what the human body needs more than nature knows. And look at what we've done. We take out one of the practices now is to just take out body organs if they're not working. Oh, your body doesn't need that. Well, if it didn't need it, it wouldn't be there. So can it operate without it? Yes, but fully functionally? But then we'll just replace it with a man-made part.
Yeah.
But are you the same person? No. Can you still live? I mean, don't get me wrong. There's amazing advancements that have allowed us to live in ways we wouldn't have been able to. My daughter is a recipient of that, right? My daughter, if she had been back in the 1800s, would not have lived after she was born. So I am not dissing modern medicine. What I'm saying is the hubristic human mind thinking that we can do things better than nature. We need to learn where we fit, where our doing is actually of benefit, and where our taking hands off the wheel and having faith and trust. I mean, one of the things I do say to visionary clients is that we don't have a single problem having faith and trusting in our vision. What we struggle with is having faith and trust that other people will deliver our vision the way we have intended it. Right? It's faith and trust in others.
Yeah.
Right? But not just others, people, processes, and just to your point of patience, timing, universal flow, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
like quantum physics, energy, like we have to have faith and trust in where our responsibility ends in a process. It may be our vision, but that doesn't mean that it, as a baby, like I love that you use the analogy of baby. As soon as I birth the baby, that baby isn't for me to manipulate and control its entire life. I gave birth to the baby. I am responsible for helping rear that baby into a place where that baby can then make choices fully and go off into the world and take care of itself. And so that's what we're talking about, is how do we then develop that? I mean, those of us who come from a religious upbringing, we understand it in terms of religion. We understand it in terms of God. We understand it. But are we taking that into our day-to-day lives? There's been a separation of church and state for a long time. And what I mean by that is not in political terms. I mean by that is we go to church and we do what we do to support our faith and our, and our beliefs there, but are we bringing those into our day-to-day practices? Correct. Are we walking that faith?
Correct.
In the same way? Are we applying it to other areas other than our religious faith?
All right.
Right. And if you're non-religious or more spiritual or just not any of those things,
correct,
having faith and trust in something is mandatory unless you want to live a completely anxious-ridden life, especially in this day and age. And that might be the very problem why many people are so anxious and fear-driven.
Yeah.
Is they're not leaning into these concepts that we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I know this seems to be a one-sided conversation where I think we're having a question and answer of it. But hey, that's what Eavesdrop is about. We didn't plan it. It came, but I gotta just bring in a couple people.
Yeah.
Vinay. It's Vinay.
Vinay. Think I.
The I in Vinay is the way I sigh. Vinay. So I just got a thing on Slick Rick the Ruler and MC Ricky D. Me and Vinay walking down the street. Okay, Vinay. He says, love it. Your anxiety simply wants to know the how. Cordell comes with clapping hands. Cordell Gibson.
Love
Uh,
Cordell. Hey, hey, if you know about empowerment, so empowerment, he and his buddy and my buddy too, Jay, do a great show of their own. So for those of you
Okay.
guys who don't know about the men's empowerment stuff that they're doing, I mean, in addition to a whole bunch of other stuff, but that's just one shout out. So
I gotta
Cordell,
check
thanks
it
for having
out,
me, man.
Cordell. Hey, Cordell, thanks for coming, man. Thanks for coming. Vinay goes, so now I know I'm gonna pronounce it the right way because I'm thinking, I am Slick Rick Darula. Yes, I worry others can see what I see. That's what keeps me up at night, and the duty I have to share it with them, right? And it's, it's about, and I always say this visionary, the vision has to be casted. You cast visions.
Yeah.
We don't go and do the how. We cast it for other people to catch. People catch the vision of the CEO. They catch the vision of the person who's sharing it, right? Shelley goes, Traci, Waldman, Phillips. How appropriate, since we had that same conversation this week. Right.
Shelley,
Yeah.
it's so funny because this is exactly what happens is like something will come up in one conversation and then it like shows up
Correct.
literally all on its own, in like because we collectively, we all, we are connected. And I know we've heard that, many different forms for many centuries. But it really is true. And I think we're finding more and more proof of that.
Yeah.
Right. Where you're thinking something and somebody else is like, oh my gosh, that was the same thought I had. Or that's exactly what I'm experiencing. Different storyline, but same basic premise.
Correct.
And I think the beauty of us being able to talk about this is because there is a shared space for all of us. And no matter what comes forward, we can all go, oh my gosh, yeah, that's what I've been struggling with. Or the language just drops in where you're like, oh, that's what I needed to, that's what it is. I thought it was about this, but no, it's really about faith and trust.
Correct.
For example.
Correct. And more so, and then I'm going to be bold and just say what's from my meditation on the anxiety and saying, I'm eager to see how, because it's the how. Hi, Roy. Shared intelligence available to all of us. Definitely. Thanks for coming, Roy. So the piece that's coming to me, that the conclusion of my eagerness of the how has been get my hand off the wheel. In the fullness of time, it will occur. Remove my schedule, remove my numerologies, remove my guesses, my estimates, it's going to happen. Keep doing what you're doing.
Keep doing what you're doing. There are things you can do though, and this is what I want to say to you.
Active waiting.
Well, active waiting, yes, but I also mean further than that. So part of what and Vinay said it so well, what keeps us up at night when we're thinking about the execution of our vision, communication. We have complete control over our communication. Usually it's so funny. I'll have a visionary client say, they're working with an administrative assistant, let's say, and they're just like, oh my gosh, this person just is not doing X, Y, and Z. I'm like, well, have you clearly communicated what that vision for how you want that done or how you see that being done effectively looks like? Well, they should just know. They don't know what's in your head.
Right.
And we forget because we're in our heads a lot as visionaries. Right? We're working things out and and we see it from that grand, 40,000 foot view. And so we're seeing all the parts and how they're working and how they need to be working and the gaps because we see gaps. And we're just assuming, and so I really want to call it that because that's what it is. We're assuming that everybody sees what we see. We forget. We think, well, if I can see it, everybody sees it. Well, unless it's another visionary, and other visionaries are focused on other things.
Yes.
So even if it's another visionary, they may not see what you're looking at. But we see what we see for a reason. And it's our responsibility to communicate that effectively to the people on the ground. So I always like to use the analogy of the military. If I was a helicopter, person, and I'm scoping out, I'm scoping out the territory, and I'm supposed to report down to the men on the ground, or men and women on the ground, so they can navigate the terrain effectively, knowing what's out there that they can't see, but I can.
Correct.
My communication is going to be crucial. If I tell them northwest and it's northeast, that might be a problem.
Yep.
Probably will be a big problem. And so it's really that effective communication. What I mean by effective communication is not assuming that people, one, see what we see. So we really need to remember that, or just assume that, and just say, hey, if you do understand, please let me know. But I'm going to cover all the bases, because my assumption is you don't see what I see. So instead of making an assumption they do see it, we need to make an assumption they don't see it. And to say, and to think about it also not in terms of what we need to know, but what they need to know about what we see.
Correct.
Right? What's
Correct.
important for those guys on the ground to know? They don't need to know that I see birds flying up here. Like, that's not important. They need to know what's going on down there so they can navigate it. So right. Communication is one. The next thing is discernment. And in leadership, and Vinay and I are talking about this, I'm not going to give away a whole different conversation, but Vinay came up with this gorgeous concept of leadership quotient, and we've been unpacking it for a while. And I see it a lot as bringing in instinctive knowing, right, into the equation. And we have that instinctiveness about us in just, based on what we see. So it isn't just coming from blind somewhere sense. It is also based on the information that we have proof about around us. But instead of always downplaying that and trying to say, well, I'm also accustomed, because this is the other thing I see visionaries do. They're both sides. They forget that people don't see and can't do what they see and do. But they also sometimes give quite a bit of rein to people, and they enable them not to do what is their job. So what I mean by that is, how many times have I heard visionaries say, well, I just got in there and did it because it would be so much quicker and easier because, I could see what needed to be done. And I'm like, yeah, but then you just disabled them by enabling them not to learn how to do their job. Right. I had a client today saying, I'm paying my administration assistant, but then I find I'm always coming back behind him and doing this, that, and the other. I said, well, have you communicated that he's not doing these things?
Yeah. Right.
So that's the thing too, is that we both, disqualify and we enable at the same time if we're not conscious. And so discernment is about saying, what's my lane, what's someone else's lane. And if I'm on the highway and if I, swerve into someone's lane, well, that's blocking them from being able to navigate their own lane, right? Effectively, could cause an accident.
Correct.
But I'm also not able to attend to my lane, which can cause problems as well. So we want to have the discernment of where my lane ends and where, if I get involved in someone else's stuff, it's not going to be creating good things. But also, if I instinctively see something isn't working, I need to communicate that. We have a high threshold for bad behavior sometimes. And we just kind of allow people, because we're like, well, nobody's as good as, there's no good people. I hear this all the time now. Like, you can't find good people out there. I'm like, that's BS. You may have to look a little bit harder.
Correct.
But there's good people out there who want to be found.
Oh yeah.
And as long as we're settling for people who's not right seat, not right fit, not right person, not right seat, we're settling in our personal relationships. We're settling in our business relationships. We're settling. Everybody knows where I'm going on this.
Hey.
Then nobody gets to drive in their rightful lane. Everybody's a misfit in the wrong lane. And I don't know where my boundaries are on my lane. And I start. So communication and discernment are ways we can navigate. Yes, I'm not saying don't let go and let God and have faith and take your hands off the wheel, but there are effective ways while we are allowing others to do what they need to do that is within our control, and also is incredibly important to help ensure that the things people are meant to be doing that we are supposed to have our hands off of are going to be best connected to the vision that we hold.
Correct.
Not just leave it up to chance.
No, correct. That's when I said active waiting, it's what Religion does. When you say, oh, I have faith in God and he's going to do it. So you go back and you sit back and go, oh, nothing happened? Huh?
Yeah, because God's like,
Nothing's going to happen because you got to do what you got to do in order for it to happen. So, when you talked about, discernment and communication, it's all part of the, the active waiting of this big thing. Who says the big thing, the vision that you see? Now something's coming to me. The vision that we see, I see. Oh, I see it. You need the foundation in order for that vision to stand. And we're building a foundation now, you and I doing this. You talked about what you and Vinay, I saw it on Instagram, right? The leadership quotient. And I saw that, I was like, oh, wow, I love that. We are building these foundations, the things that Roy is doing, the thing that Cordell is doing. This isn't a vision. This is not it. These are the roots. It's not the tap root. The tap root, thank you. The tap root is the vision. The subsequent roots, those other roots that come from the tap root, that's what we're building. We're building those things. The tap root needs the nutrients from these. I know the name, the scientific name for it, but hey, forgive me. Those are the little roots that are going, flaring out. They are helping that tap root grow. And unless those roots grow and feed the tap root, that vision cannot go. So
yes,
tell ourselves, I know I'm supposed to stand in front of 1 million people and talk and encourage them, but come on, stand in front of the 4 and encourage them first.
Yeah,
stand in front of the 1 and encourage them first. Let them tell you, what you're saying doesn't make sense. Okay, it came from my heart. I hear you. I'll relive. I'll go and check it out and find out. Let me bring in you. There are some sweet comments coming on, and I need to ask you, how are you doing? Because my how am I doing took us about 38 minutes. So
let's go to others first.
Yeah, let's do that. So Roy goes, I'm so happy to understand more about visionaries. You see things I can't, but I can help you implement your vision and explain it. Then there's, as we always know, there's the conversation within the conversation. Vinay comes and say there's a huge value in understanding the visionary / integrator relationships are where magic springs from. I think you've said that more than once on this here, in that line. Roy goes, I love this session. Vinay goes, total BS. And this was when you said what you said. You attract based on your level of preparation and your space you have built for them. Mm-hmm. So now, Traci, how are you doing? I know you have 14 other questions for me, but I'm going to put those 14 questions on the side because you're important. Let's go.
Well, thank you. And I would say my 14 questions are getting integrated in here. So just so you know, I'm very sly that way. But I'm doing well. I'm actually really excited about this conversation too. And it makes a huge difference when all of you show up and engage, because, this is, as we can see this, each episode that comes where more and more people are engaging and asking questions and putting commentary out there. I mean, that's really what this is about, is that in the moment, you see this on LinkedIn where people, and anywhere, any of the media platforms, but in real time, there's some magic about that, right? Yes. Because we're all creating this thing, right? That is coming across in conversation through thoughts and ideas and beliefs. And that thing is what we're putting out into the world. And so this is the space I love to be in. So I'm doing really well. And I do love sharing, certainly my own experiences in this, but also learning from others, because what I've seen is an up-leveling. I got this bug that keeps coming to visit. It wants to be in front of a bunch of people too.
That's a showy bug.
Very unfortunate. I'm going to start by but anyway, so I've been listening to, really listening to what people are saying and how they're saying it lately. And I have to say, I've been, increasingly impressed with how much people are really taking the time to develop themselves and their own idea, questioning themselves, but also allowing some of the things that maybe they felt deeply about, that they were on the fringes, oh, I don't know if that's appropriate to say, or if people are going to want to hear me say that, or, if that's safe to say, or whatever, that they're starting to venture out and share that more and more. So it's both the courage to speak what they think is important, but also the courage to maybe question themselves and hold themselves accountable and say, is that really serving me? Right? Is that really, am I really being most effective in this, approach or thought process or whatever? And people are willing to share that more and more vulnerably, which that's where my appreciation comes in, because if we don't put it out there, what we do behind closed doors, becomes our own, growth and potential development. But when we can kind of model it for others, and then also then allow for others' feedback to add to that process, and realize how much we really are going through so many of the same things, maybe in different ways, but the same basic things at the same time. That, in a world that has been kind of going more in the divisive direction of things, is what is going to allow us to not only heal individually, but heal collectively. So that's what I've been noticing. And it makes me very happy, because that's the premise I've been working off of since I came into this world.
Correct. So I have a question for you.
What's that?
Roy talked about shared intelligence.
Yes.
And you say you've seen people, they're expressing their truths and, sharing what they're feeling. What is Traci feeling? I don't want to hear about the clients. I want to hear about what is Traci feeling in this moment. Share. They were eavesdropping, and I don't care who's listening, but talk to me. What's Traci feeling in this moment?
I'm feeling a sense of peace, that's growing more and more. And again, the reason I realized this has actually been a kind of an aha, over the last couple weeks.
Okay.
Is the reason I talk about others so much is because that is my job. That is one of my roles and purpose, is to help facilitate and catalyze and optimize, or create a space for others to be catalyzed and optimized. So the world is my playground, right? Other people matter to me. And more importantly, and succinctly put, people reaching their potential is important to me. Yes. Because I realized a while back that a lot of times the reason why I also struggled with certain relationships is that I would be engaging with the person at their potential, and they may not be there. So, it's like the ex-boyfriends, where it's like, oh, I see his greatness, and he may be nowhere close to his greatness. In the way he treated me. But I'm engaging with the greatness, right? I'm not engaging with the actual person where they're at the moment.
Correct.
And I laugh about that, but I've heard that from, so many visionaries. When I say that, they're like, oh my God, that's so true. I see your genius, and therefore I engage with you as that genius. But so it makes me happy when people start to see what I see in them. I see their greatness, and then they start to see it. That.
Guess what? I gotta jump in here. You know why Eavesdrop was created? Eavesdrop was created so that the thing that you do for others, it's done for you and for me, right? We created this space because we wanted. And I get you all the time. And you just explained it. It's about the clients. It's about the people you engage with. Eavesdrop, to heck with the clients right now, because I want to hear. You just heard from Wulwyn what's going on with Wulwyn, right? We're on the phone talking about each other, and we're like, gosh, the stuff that's going on in our lives can help others. So let's eavesdrop. Let's open it up. So when I have to be here to tick you, if I may say this, by the horn, because you're kind of stubborn. Because every single time we start to talk about it, you, which is not wrong, you bring in the rich content of your engagements. But I don't care.
but that is me. That's what
I
I just
know,
said.
but guess what,
That
dear? Guess what, dear? Guess what, dear? Guess what? Guess what? I know it's you, but I want to hear
that is me. No, but
Traci.
but
Traci,
let
what
me,
is Traci hearing? And you answered it. And
but
I'm
that
not,
is it.
we're not fighting. We're
No, we're
not,
not fighting people.
no, we're not, y'all. So
We're
it's,
agreeing to
you
disagree
eavesdropping.
because
Yeah.
this is what I need to say is
You,
that is me. I've realized that a lot of people have been doing this my whole life. They're like, but no, that's not it. It's this. I'm like, no, that is it. I am being vulnerable. I am showing my purpose.
yeah.
I mean, yes, there's individual things that I go through, but I'm talking higher level, and that is me. I speak about my joy in other people. That is some of the greatest joy within me, is seeing that connectiveness in others. It isn't about me projecting or just making it about others. That
Correct.
is true for me. That is, you asked me what makes Traci joyful, what brings joy to Traci. That is something I've become aware brings me great joy. Do you know how many times I get off a client session when somebody has made this huge connection? I literally, sometimes I just cry. I just weep from joy. That's what flows through me. That's what makes me tick. That's what I get up in the morning for. And it isn't from like, oh, she's not thinking about, no, trust me. I know self-care. Anybody who knows me well knows I know self-care. You know, I spend a certain amount of time meditating, quiet, all that. But for me, if I want to really express to the world what's important to Traci, your question was, what is Traci feeling? What
you're feeling now?
What I'm saying to you is it. It's not me not allowing other people to see me or anything. This is me.
Excellent.
And that's what I've recognized, is that I've been told, trust me, by many people throughout my life, there's just this wall. What is with you? And I'm like, in some cases that may or may not have been true, but I think part of where I build the wall is when people don't let me express me. Yourself. They keep telling me what I'm expressing is not what it's really going on.
Wow. Wow.
And then I'm like, well, I mean, okay, well, yeah, you know me better than I know me.
Correct.
You know, type of thing. So,
correct.
So yeah, that's, I mean, it is me.
I love the clarity, right? I love the clarity of our conversation just now. It was raw, it was true, it had all the components of a play. You know, it crescendoed, it went, then it came down in the climax, and the plot was you, and then it comes to the end where we are all on the same page. I understand her even more, right? Because that's what occurred just now, without us even knowing it was occurring, was a display of conversation, a display of two ideas, two understandings coming in, and then having reverence. I'm going to bring our word again. Having reverence for each other to speak it, and then boom. Okay, cool. Now I get it. So guess what? The next EP, the 20th one from now, when I keep hearing you talk about these people, I'm not going to say, gosh, she's talking about these people. That's you. And to others who are out there, if you don't have the ability to express yourself the way Traci expressed to me, to understand who she is, don't quit being you. Don't quit the beautiful mind, the beautiful person you are, because you haven't explained to the person who's listening, who has a different idea of who you are, and you say, well, since they don't understand me, I will not be me. No, don't do that. Because what you're about to do is you're about to stop your growth, because the things that are in you has to come out for new things to flow through.
Yeah.
Don't cement the output. Don't let that be the bottleneck. And Tracy, you and I have talked a couple times, and this has come up where you said people keep telling me who I'm supposed to be, and I know myself. And you went in for a while, and then boom, you came out with your W on your chest, right? And a W for wonder. The man would have the S, right? So wonder comes out of your chest, and you walking in that path unapologetically.
Mm-hmm.
So learn people, us. It's something to me. It's something to the eavesdroppers, to others who will come in, hashtag replay. Don't stunt your growth based on what the market says, or don't stunt your sales based on what the market says. Do you? Boo.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that so much. And it really did hit home for me because I know personally I've been going through an awakening of just that, what you just expressed. And a lot of memories of different people, some family, some friends, some teachers, or other people throughout my life that spent so much time using those words like you're too, you think too much, you're too instigating, you're too difficult, you're too strong, you're too, and if I were to just take away the TOO, you think a lot, you're strong, you're instigative. That's all who I am. So they were telling me who I was, but in a way that was contrary. And I do believe we're most challenged in our greatest gifts.
Yes.
For many reasons. One, to become aware of them, because again, where we don't have challenge, a lot of times we don't have awareness. And so we can hone that ability to navigate those traits and own them ultimately. And that's the thing I finally stepped into, is if I like, oh, I hate that word TOO. And then I'm like, so if I just were to extract it, they were telling me everything I was. They were just doing it in a negative way. So I took it negatively and pushed back on it. And I pushed it away.
Yeah.
I pushed those traits away. And so to reclaim them and to boldly crown myself with them, it feels good. It feels good. I absolutely am an instigator. I know it. That might rub some people the wrong way. I noticed on LinkedIn, I just have a natural tendency to ask the other question. And for people who just want to hear, oh, I love what you just said. Oh, that was so great. And they don't like to be instigated. Or they don't like to have somebody come and kind of do the contrarian thing with them. Yeah, they don't like me so much. They stop engaging. And I'm not doing it to try to make them look bad or to say I'm right and you're wrong. That is never my purpose. I will hear something in language that doesn't add up. And that's where I always come from, is that you're saying something, but you don't really, it's not a full thought. Like there's something missing. And that's what I'm asking about. I'm trying to bring the full potential and full potency and picture of the person out. And it's a misinterpretation of what I'm doing. And so, and I'm not going to explain myself. I'm not going to get on the road. Well, actually, what I'm trying to do is this and this. So if I offended you, please don't. No, that's going to just look silly.
You know what the motive.
If the person wants to say, hey, I kind of was a little bit taken by that response, and then I'm happy to have that conversation. But I'm doing it to pull out the magic and beauty of what they're saying. It's never to do the opposite.
Yeah.
And that's, so I'm just saying that for anybody who's listening, whoever gets challenged by something I might say, please bring that to me. Because I can't say that I always have the best delivery. I'm not the one to really judge that. Right. I do what feels right, but I do know one thing. If I start to get the horns on and I start to do something that feels like I'm coming at you, it's because I'm challenging something in you that's great. And if you do that to me, that's the way I'm going to take it too. Just like what Wulwyn just did. He challenged me to vocalize my truth. Yeah. And I appreciate that.
And that was exactly what happened. I I did say it's exactly what happened, and the conversation ensued. So again, we got to bring them in. They're eavesdropping and they are dropping dimes. So I think what you were saying was, I put my crown on my head. I think the word in 2021 is slay. I slay, you slay, so go slay, girl. For now, when the difference between sympathy and empathy, sympathy, you think you know, empathy, you ask. And then Carl comes, Carl comes. Hey, Carl, I found myself dimming my lights for others so that they would feel better. Mm. And it made me feel miserable because I was a people pleaser. Um, Carl again has dropped a dime. Roy comes in with challenges are extremely important. That's how we grow. Carl goes, that's good, Tracy, was something you were talking earlier. Roy pings back to Carl saying, did you just come to understand that, or have you known that already? And Carl goes, I feel like I apologize all the time, even when I was right. So it's
Even when he
exactly
was
what,
speaking truth.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's what we're saying here. You know, don't dim your light because of the misunderstanding of the marketplace.
Well, guess what?
Don't
Guess
dim who
what?
you are.
I'm sorry. I'm just like totally talking over you. Guess what? When
No,
we
no.
dim our light, the person doesn't get to know who we are. I mean, that's the thing. It's like we dim it to try to make them happy. We feel miserable, but guess what? They're also not engaging with us as who we truly are. So ultimately, they're missing out too.
And the
And whether
experience,
they have awareness of feeling miserable about that or not, it's a loss.
and they are lost to experience your greatness.
Yes.
They are at a loss because your
Yes.
greatness, hi. Can I get on the soapbox? Your greatness, what you expound, what you come out is for, so like what we're doing here, our greatness, we're speaking in 4, 6, 8 people came on and listened at different times. Some stayed the entire time. They are listening and they are receiving. So the person who says,
And
you're
giving, and we're
too,
receiving from them too.
yes, we are. And they're saying, you're too, be quiet, listen to what you two is saying to you and go, huh, oh, wow, she does have something there, huh? And you take away. But if you stop me from being great, you will not experience greatness. And that greatness, you never know, is fuel to your greatness.
That's it. That's it. And that's why we're here. That's what I feel is my ultimate purpose and why I get so when when people truncate that for whatever reason, when systems truncate that, when individuals truncate that, when we feel that no, being nice and being safe is more important than being real and being courageous. You know, it's we really just need to live out loud. And what that means is not always tippy-toeing around things. Part of what creates resilience is getting those dings, is getting sideswiped occasionally, you know, is getting like bopped upside the head and going, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That is not your truth.
Yep.
Speak up, right?
Yep.
That's where we start to build ourselves. And to your point, that greatness is what inspires the greatness that other people have in their potential.
I tell you this, Tracy, you know, we always, and I think this is how this show is going to be. I'm always going to end with thanking you. I'm going to end with thanking you because, and thanking all of you who are on here, but you know, you guys could be here, you could not, but hey, I appreciate you being here. It's our eavesdrop hour, all of ours. But Tracy, you make me intentional. You make me intentional when I speak with you, and after here in my conversations on other shows, in my conversations with people, I go, I have to make sure I'm communicating well, because there has been times on this show where we'll say something and I say it with some kernels not being popped, and you would come in and go, oh, and I gotta, no, okay, I assume she understood, so let me pop this kernel. So if you remember today in our How Are You Feeling, Wulwyn, and I went on and for every word that I spoke, I popped the kernel properly because I didn't want you to come in and say, but Wulwyn, I didn't, this, and what you asked was by design by me to speak in poetry form so that you can come in and say, oh, hold up. You're saying a whole lot of stuff here, but tell me what you're saying, which was by design, right? So it's thank you for your greatness, which makes me great, not only in this setting, but as I go out and speak to people as a visionary and say, I must communicate well. I must discern well. I must engage and not leave things, not leave kernels where people have to go and, you know how you eat kernels and it's so hard compared to it being popped? That's how people find our words when it's kerneled. We go, oh, gosh, can't really get it. So Traci, back to you to close this up, sis.
I love that hashtag pop those kernels. I love it. That is like, we're gonna have some fun stuff with, I mean, now we need to get a graphic designer involved. But I thank you too. I mean, I think wrapping up with thanks and gratitude and appreciation is a wonderful way, you know, to really come back and tie that bow at the end. And, you know, again, to all the people who take time, because I mean, we all know there's a multiplicity of things that we could be doing or even being, you know, in our space. And if this adds value to you, that is something that has been intentional for both Wulwyn and I since the beginning, is to intentionally put value out into the world. So we're glad it's valuable enough for you to choose to spend your time here. And also too, just for everybody's wisdom coming forward, because, you know, I mean, one of the things that I've struggled with a lot in my life is surrounding myself with other people who thought at the level I did. And I'm not saying better or worse, so I don't want to offend anybody. I'm not saying I'm a high level thinker and other people are not. I'm just saying that think at the level I think. And I'm finding more and more of those people who also appreciate that ability to you know, to really dive in, right, and have these types of conversations, because that fuels me personally, right? That's valuable for me. So this fuels my tank in that way. But yeah, today was a really good one. I like it.
It was kind of different.
Yeah,
almost like a live on peeling of the onion and then diving in. It was pretty good.
This is how you do it. Dance party.
Hey,
maracas when
you got hey, eavesdroppers, thank you so much for coming and see you in the next 2 weeks. Traci, love you, sis.
Love you back.
Bye-bye, y'all.
Bye.